Welcome back, Questers. Good to see you. I have another D&D adventure to share with you, and this D&D adventure comes from my own home game. Now, there are 4 players at my table, and the characters they're playing is Gareth, who is a human cleric. We got Oric, who is a mountain dwarf fighter. We have Kana, who is a Triton druid, and we have Dash, who is a halfling bard, who is also played by my wife. And let me read off the quest for you so you understand what's happening. A rivalry between 2 merchant families escalates from mischief to mayhem in Endemir. Stop the rivalry from escalating before they wipe out precious resources for their townspeople and neighboring communities. So why is that important? Well, in the world that they're in, called Elamic, is facing an overpopulation crisis. And it is just about to happen, and the last thing you want is more scarce resources being even more scarce. And so my players are taking on this quest to hopefully stop that. So as my players are about to leave, they are met by 2 gnome paladins called Team Justice. Gideon and Seraphina, the 2 gnome siblings, they're like, hey, I heard you're going on a quest and justice needs to be served. Yeah, and we're here to help serve justice. And my players go, that's great, go get more wood. I love these 2 so much, but my players just aren't allowing them to do what they are meant to do. And you want to know what? It is so funny. Team Justice goes and gets more wood, and my players head to the town of Endemir. Well, when they arrive at Endemir, it is very quiet, okay? They see no one on the streets. They see no livestock out. They see a tumbleweed, but the tumbleweed is quiet. They don't even hear the tumbleweed go by. That's how quiet it is. So as they begin to walk down the middle of the street, 2 shops on either side of the road, their window opens. You know those like windows like at like concession stands or something? It's like the front part's still blocked off, but they got that like window that goes up. Yeah, okay, good. So those windows open up on both sides of these shops. All of a sudden, weapons go flying. There's a lot of yelling happening. My players are confused. And in the middle of all this ruckus, you hear, stop, wait, they're customers. Everything goes quiet again. And you hear, excuse me, are you looking for anything? My players look over and they see the one shop, which is called the Locks and Sfiels. This shop is ran by a bunch of dwarves whose last names are Lock and Sfiels. And then they look over on the other side, who this elf talks to them and says, yes, is there anything that you might need from us? The elves, their shop is called Y'all Heard of Herbs? So we got the dwarves, the Lockenspiels, we got the elves who are the Yallenhoys. And to answer your question, yes, I very much inspired these 2 families off of the 2 families from Klaus, the Crumbs and the Ellenbows. I love that movie. That is one of the best animated Christmas movies out there. You can't change my mind. The Yallenhoys and the Lockenspiels are trying to gain the attention of the party, and the party's not sure who to look for. And Kana, I believe, said, oh, no, thanks, we're good. And both of them look at each other and go, oh, so you're wasting our time. And the Yallenhoys are like, they're not wasting your time. You are wasting our time because you are making them so indecisive that they don't want to buy anything from us. And the Lockenspiels are like, no, you can't say that. You're the ones who keep stealing our stuff and keep selling our stuff. The 2 families just now start arguing. And Gareth, who is the cleric of light, and he focuses on peace and justice and whatnot, he goes in the middle between both of them, and he says something along the lines of, now, you 2, let's act like gentlemen and handle this civilly. Let's handle this in a good manner. And the Lockenspiels are like, yeah, let's handle this in a good manner. And the Yallenhoys are like, yeah, I think we will. All of a sudden, both of the windows shut. Gareth did it. He did it. He stopped the fight. Oh no, what is happening over there? The Lockenspiels just opened up their window again, and out comes a tar barrel that has a fuse on the end and is lit and is heading directly towards the Yallenhoys. They have to stop 4 out of 6 assaults from either side. Okay, so what I did was I created 6 different types of encounters that my party was going to engage with, and I had each player roll a d6, and they would tell me what they got, and whatever number that was the encounter they had to face. So before the Glockenspiels throw the barrel out, I had one of my players roll. They rolled a 1, which was the tar barrel with the fuse. This tar barrel is rolling down and is getting ready to go hit the Yalenhoys' place. Auric, our fighter dwarf, goes, I know how to stop it. I want to run next to the barrel and I want to cut off the fuse. And I said, you could do that. It's going to be with disadvantage though. The DC is going to be 12. And he rolls a 15. Still pretty good. He cuts off the fuse and he stands there proudly showing the fuse to the players. And he's like, look, I did it. And behind him, what you see is the barrel still tumbling towards the Yalenhoys. Gareth comes up, the cleric, and he goes, all right, I guess I'm going to have to step in front of this and stop it. So he steps in front of it, rolls a strength check, succeeds, stops the barrel. Now the barrel is placed in the middle of this road. Okay, and it's going to come back in this story. But they accomplished the first encounter. Good job. I tell my second player to roll. They roll a 2. So on a 2, the Yalenhoys, they send out a bunch of Tinker Toys. Okay, and they start marching up to the Glockenspiels. My party looks at the Tinker Toys and they go, oh, that's nothing. Like, oh, we can take that. Gareth casts Shields of Faith on Auric, and Auric does his like little charging thing again. And as he hits the Tinker Toys explode. Acid gets shot everywhere. So as Auric hits, I think he took out like 3 Tinker Toys, he gets splashed by this acid, and the acid, I think he takes about 4 points of damage. They got the first ones out, there's still about 7 more left. So Dash, my wife's character, goes up and tries to attack one of the Tinker Toys with their daggers. He does a main attack and an offhand attack. The main attack hits, the offhand hits, stabs one Tinker Toy, it explodes. She only took 1 point of acid damage. So next up is Kana, and she casts Ice Knife in a group of the Tinker Toys. She hits one, that one goes down. No one takes damage because they were far away. And with Ice Knife, after it hits, it explodes, and everything surrounding it has to roll a dex save, I believe, or they take like 2d6 cold damage. So one gets destroyed. I believe another one gets destroyed. The other 2 save, and they're very hurt. There's a total of 4 of these Tinker Toys left. And so Gareth comes up, and Gareth is like, I got this, don't worry. Tries to get like the side of the Tinker Toys. That way he could just kind of like hit all of them in a line. So and I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I'll allow that if you can manage to do that. He's like, cool, I'm going to cast Guiding Bolt and attempt to take out the rest of the Tinker Toys. I'm like, great. He rolls, misses. Gareth is just happy to be there right now. And this is going to be a reoccurring thing happening in this campaign so far. But the rest of my players, they all take out the Tinker Toys one by one, and the Tinker Toys are stopped. They manage to stop 2 assaults. They have 2 left that they need to stop. So it comes to the third player who rolls a 3. We've gone 1, 2, 3. I can't make it up. It's how it happened. On the third one, what I had written down was the Glockenspiels were going to send out their dwarven children to vandalize the store against my own judgment, and went, hey, let's see how well the stealth is going to be. And I say this out loud to my players. And they're like, yeah, let's see. I roll in front of them, and I roll a 2. I kind of made things up as I went at this point, because that just totally ruined that whole encounter by rolling a 2 for stealth. So instead of multiple dwarven children, I just made it so it was one giant dwarven child who was heading to go vandalize the store. And what's hilarious is the dwarven child happened to be coming out right where Dash is at. After the whole Tinker Toy encounter, Dash happened to be right where the dwarven child was walking. You see Dash get up, and the dwarven child's like behind him, like gush, gush, gush. And Dash is like, he's right behind me, isn't he? Sure enough, I say, hey, Dash, I need you to roll a dexterity save to get out of the way. Failed and took 4 points of giant trampling damage. So this child is heading towards the Yalenhoys, and this child is like determined that it's going to tear this thing down. And I described that to the players, and the players are like, what do we do? Like, I don't know how to stop this. And Auric is like, okay, I have an idea. I'm going to take the tar barrel, and I'm going to give it to the child in hopes that the child will take it, turn around, and go play with it somewhere else. So Auric goes, grabs the barrel, and he goes, giant child dwarf, I present to you a barrel full of tar. If you would just take this barrel and go the other way, That would be great. The baby picks up the tar barrel and Oric goes, okay, good, now turn around. And I make the baby do this. Turns around. And then turns back around and then takes the barrel over his head and begins to walk towards the Yalanois, getting ready to throw the barrel at the Yalanois. Good job, Oric. You just gave a child a weapon of some guy. He was going to do a minimal damage. Now he's going to do a lot of damage. Well, a good thing my wife was there because Dash goes up and says, I'm going to grab one of the daggers that got stuck in the Tinker toy and I'm going to throw it at the child in hopes that it's going to hit the forehead of the child and it's going to let go of the barrel. Mind you, this is where I start to panic, okay? This is where the dungeon master in me really starts to panic because the baby is holding the barrel like this over his head, and my wife wants to throw a dagger at the child with a Tinker toy that was covered in acid at the forehead of this child, okay? I did not know what to do at that point. So, luckily, what I did was smart. The wife throws the dagger still at the child, manages to hit the child in the forehead, and how I described it was the child threw the tar barrel behind him and it breaks and the child goes like falls backward into the tar, and the dwarven child could not have had more fun. It was having a blast in this tar. It was great. 3 out of 4 assaults have been stopped. And at this point, I'm realizing the players are doing really well. They're going to easily make it to the 4th one and accomplish that. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to throw them the very last thing that I was going to have the families do. I'm going to do that now and see if they can stop that assault. Because this one's going to just be like the grand finale. Both families, the Glockenspiels and the Yalanois, they come out of their shops and they line up in front of their shops, and these guys are about to have a 1700s showdown. And they both start to march towards one another. And I told the players, do not let them fight each other because this is going to be drastic. And my players were like, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to figure out? And Gareth goes, all right, I know what I'm going to do. He stands off into the middle of the road, and what he does is he lets out his breath weapon between these two families. And remind you, he's a human. So how the heck does he have a breath weapon? That has not been talked about in game, so unfortunately, I can't say it. As the fire shoots out between the families, Kana goes, you know what? I'm going to cast the cantrip Gust. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to have the wind blow the fire up to kind of make a fire tornado. I loved that idea. I think it was very good, and I think it would be a good intimidation for these two families to stop, kind of bring them back to their senses. This is going to be a little bit harder, though, because these two families they're ready to fight. Like, they've put up each other for so long, but now this is like do or die. And so I said, this is going to be difficult. So the DC is going to be 20, but you have advantage. Thank goodness they had advantage because they rolled a 6 and a 2. So that breath weapon and that gust of wind that happened, it was cool, but they were like, oh, all right, back to it. Oric comes in, stands between the two families, and he says this in character with such passion and authority and a power. It felt so good. He says, in the name of our king of Iron Spear Peak, stop this fighting or ye shall be cut off from receiving any minerals from them going forward. Oh, it was good. We all clapped around the table. That's how good it was. And I was like, that was amazing. I'm going to have you roll again. Again, you're going to have advantage. The DC is 20. He rolls an 18. He was so close. He was so close from being able to stop. Oh, yeah, I have Bardic Inspiration. He rolls a 2, and he meets the DC, and it makes the two families come to their senses. And so they lay down their weapons, and they stop fighting. And I'm so proud of my players coming together to work through that. The Glockenspiels and the Yalanois, they say, you know what? This isn't worth it anymore. Like, no more fighting, no more any of this. The other side agrees. If one of them moves out of Endemir, Glockenspiels go like, we can have peace, but you got to move out. And the Yellenhorns are like, no. We were going to say the same thing to you. All right, well, we're going to move out. Nuh-uh, we were going to move out before you. And hey, heroes, the ones who stopped us, who do you want to come with you? Huh? You said you were building up a kingdom of some kind. Choose one of us. All right, who do you like more? Who do you want to be the main general store of Allenford? Players came together. And they thought very long and hard for 1 second, and they chose the Glockenspiels. Why? Because they were more funny, I guess. So we're at the end of the quest. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling proud for my players. They completed their first quest. My players are happy. They're all high-fiving. They're feeling good. And all of a sudden, right before I end the quest, one of my players goes, now, wait a minute. How does the Glockenspiels move all of their stuff to Allenford? I panicked, okay? I wasn't thinking of that. I just was like, hey, can we just like pretend they just moved there and they're already settled? No. I get asked straight up, how does that happen? And I didn't know. I had no idea. I didn't think that far. I was just like, hey, come on, let's just end this and move on, fade to black, go, do something. Okay, and so the whole party got curious too. And so now the pressure's on me trying to figure out how do the Glockenspiels pick up their entire residency and they just move away. And I went, oh, I got it. The answer is in what they do. They're Amish. The Glockenspiels are now Amish in my campaign because out of sheer panic, that's just what came out of my mouth. And so the players see the Glockenspiels just tear down their shop, and they have all their materials, and they just start heading to Allenford, which is the home base of the players. And if you think that's insensitive, well, guess what? The Glockenspiels aren't going to be watching this, okay? Because they're Amish. And so the players start following them, or so I thought. Dash decides to go into the Yallenhoy's shop and decide to just take all of their food. Why? I don't know. Before, he leaves, he decides to lock up the place for the Yallenhoys, which is great because as they all leave, the players here in the background from the Yallenhoys, hey, does anyone have a key? Everything's locked. I can't get in. Hello? Does anyone have the key? Yeah, I rolled poorly for the Yallenhoys to be able to get back in. And the Glockenspiels are now in Allenford. You want to know what happens when they get there? Team Justice is there. And, they got a nice pile of wood waiting. And they're waiting to receive praise for the hard work that they did. Players tell me that the Glockenspiels need to inspect the wood that they gathered. And so I go, okay, and I roll. They inspect it so well that they weren't satisfied with the wood quality that was given. And so, as my players decide to choose their next mission, Team Justice, unfortunately, gets taken by the Glockenspiels to be shown how to properly cut wood. And they miss another chance to go with the party. Because this one was going to be perfect because the party chose there are rats in my basement, which I'm going to tell in the next story. Bye-bye.